When I unearthed my 1998 Eclipse from underneath all the dust, the rat poop, and whatever else was on top of it, I was on cloud nine. I had found the car that I've been searching for the longest time. It was there, it was finally happening, and the best part about it, it was free. I mean, all it needed, was a new engine, some new brakes, some rust repaired, a new hatchback, new wheels, new tires, new exhaust, new ECU, door handles because they were broken off, mirrors because they were painted pink, and a new paint job. But it was free. I had my own barn find on my hands. And maybe it's all the stories that we heard growing up from the old guy, who had the one owner Camaro sitting in the garage collecting dust for all these years. Or maybe it's all the news articles of people buying some property and finding an abandoned building in the back that housed 30 one-off cars for some reason. Or, maybe it's Forza Horizon just giving us all the high hopes that we eventually, will run into a barn find at some point in our lives. But is it all that it's hyped up to be? Are barn finds actually worth it? Do they happen, or is it just truly tall tales? Well, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about on today's episode of Myth or Fact. Real quick before we get into the video, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. It helps us out a ton. And if you're looking for wheels, tires, and suspension and want to get your wheels and tires packaged from us, we can do that. Free mount, balance, and ship to your door for the lower 48. It's all a bunch of good stuff, so you don't have to go through the hassle of getting your tires stretched or mounted wherever you might live. In theory, it all sounds fine and dandy, right? Like potentially finding a car of your dreams just sitting, waiting for you to rip off the tarp that it's been covering it for 10, 20, 30 years. Short answer, yes, I think any one of us would be extremely hyped to find anything remotely close to that. And it does actually happen, whether that's coming across it on your own or hearing of them through family and friends from old Uncle Buck who, bought some kind of old sports car back in the day and it's just been sitting in the garage collecting dust and never drove anymore. And whether it's something that falls into your hands or you have to convince the old geezer to sell it to you, it does happen, and it actually does happen quite often. We hear about it all the time, and every time it does happen, we kind of just sit there like, damn, that lucky bastard. But here's the thing. Cars don't like to sit for extended periods of time like that. Things happen to them, and as much as we'd like to think that we can just blow the dust off, fire them up, and good to go, it's usually pretty far from the truth. So in case you were thinking of going out and hunting for one or know of one in your area that you were thinking about picking up, here are some things that you just might want to keep in mind if you're looking to pick up some sort of barn find. For example, when I snagged up my Eclipse, we literally had to drag it out of the garage that it was sitting in onto a flatbed to tow it back to my place because the brakes would not free up. She was locked up. And after that, it was just kind of a pain in the ass to really move around anywhere before we were able to get it up on a lift and knock everything free. So I guess first thing to keep in mind is how the hell are you gonna get it to where you need to be and out of the property that it's currently at. Like I said before, cars do not like to just sit around. Any fluids that were originally in the car are going to need to be replaced. Your gas, your oil, your antifreeze, your transmission fluid, brake fluid, everything. At least if the car has been sitting for a long time. I would never recommend ever trying to start a car that has sat for a long time without at least changing the gas and the oil. And make sure that there's no corrosion or anything in the lines or in the fuel system that can be put into the engine. Along with your fluids, you're probably gonna have to swap out some lines and hoses as well. Rubber hoses, they dry out pretty easily and they crack and then they fall apart. Metal lines, like your brake lines for instance, love to corrode, especially in areas where corrosion is a common thing. Now, I'm not really trying to here to scare you away from these cars, hear me say that. It's just good to know exactly what you could be getting yourself into so you don't dive in, tear the whole thing apart, and now it's the same car but just in a million pieces. The overall condition of the car is something to take into consideration as well. Maybe it had some damage to it already, hence why it was kind of parked out back and forgotten about. And that can go for literally anything from the engine, the body, other structural components, who knows. And usually, unless the original owner is the one selling it to you, it might be difficult to actually find out the car's true history. But if you can, try to find out as much about it as possible. Look it over really good if you can. Look underneath it, see if there's anything missing, like missing pieces. See if there's anything like rust, especially if you live in places with harsh winters like Wisconsin, because rust sucks and it tends to add up the bill really, really quick. Animals are another killer of cars that sit for a long time. Mice, raccoons, hell, I've even seen porcupines absolutely destroy a vehicle, from wiring all the way down to actual rust and corrosion caused from them living, eating, and well, of course, other things inside the vehicle. This can cause an absolute nightmare for tracking down things like electrical issues or trying to find a replacement interior piece that got chewed up. Plus, try getting rid of that smell. I promise you, it's not easy. It's always gonna be there no matter how hard you try. Now, I can see you sitting there like, damn, Gels, why you gotta ruin my hopes and dreams like that? And that's not what I'm trying to do at all. Finding something like a barn find can be one of the best things that can happen to a car enthusiast. If you have the time, if you have the patience, and of course the funds to back it up, you can have yourself one hell of a car that you saved and you brought back to life. And that's something that anyone can be proud of, knowing that the car that you saved could have either just wound up rotting there for the rest of existence, or even worse, getting crushed in a scrapyard. A barn find can be classified as many different things, and they can come in all shapes and forms, from your cars that simply just needed a new battery and a tune-up, and some things that need a full-blown restoration. Unfortunately, we don't all have access to a Warren who can completely rebuild our car to factory spec in 30 minutes. If you don't play Forza Horizon, that won't make any sense, and I'm sorry, but whatever. So when it's all said and done, barn finds can be an absolutely fun time, and they can be an absolute nightmare at the same time. You just need to know what you're getting yourself into. If you're looking at a full-blown restoration project, make sure you're planned out and have a budget for a full-blown restoration project, and don't get upset when the car's not done in 1 year or over the course of a winter. So let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and if you've ever tackled something like a barn find, or if you know one around your local area that you need a couple buddies to go help pick out. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Gels from Fitment Industries. Don't forget, wheels, tires, suspension, fitmentindustries.com. We'll see you later. Peace.